Yes, a very good evening to all our viewers and welcome back to another edition of Evening Review. My name is Philip Joseph and I will be your host in tonight's episode, where I will be joined by Lineekela Hamutumwa, who is a project manager at Monasa Advisory Associates, where she will be delving into the world of project management, and she will just be discussing her career and how she got to where she is today and everything else related to that sector. Lineekela, thank you for making the time for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Philip.
Yeah. I hope this is not your very first interview, of course.
No, it's not the first one, but it has been a couple of years since I've been in the front camera.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, before we touch on the nitty-gritties, I mean, just tell us, just give us perhaps a background as to what led you into this space.
Okay, I always say that I became a project manager by chance, or let's say by circumstance. I started a job at Monasa Advisory Associates, and I started as an intern, doing everything in admin and finance. And as the company sort of grew, then positions were opening up in order to manage the growth. And the Department of Project Management was open, and seemingly I displayed the ability to manage the projects at the scale like that. So yeah, then I just grew into the role.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that, and if you look at the position itself, it's one where you find that it's often male dominated. Just how did you navigate yourself through that space?
I won't say in the consultancy space I encountered a lot of male dominancy, but you can tell in the projects that that I am to manage that it was very male dominated. You know, because I manage projects from different sectors, whether education, infrastructure, housing, you know, and primarily those are led by men.
Okay.
So having to navigate that and, you know, telling the men that the project is going this way because we set the time this way. Yeah, so you just have to be tough in it, because when you are in the role, you are in a position of power. You're not in a position to step back and watch people do. It's sort of like you are managing the project as it goes. So people tend to listen to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you've touched on a keyword there, which is time. And obviously, in moments like this, especially given the magnitude of certain projects, you know, you often find at times companies that don't often meet objectives. But how do you guys always ensure that you're always on track? And even if you guys come across challenges, how then do you overcome them?
So the art of project management is that there should always be, we call them artifacts, you know, a project that are built for specific, not projects, but let's say the environment that you're working in. So governance is a big thing when it comes to managing projects and them being on time. Now, in the world that I operate in, the projects that we often get already have a time factor to it. So let's say if you apply for a project through procurement, they will tell you that the project needs to be done within 6 months. So that's the time that you're working within. In hindsight, though, when you do get into the project, you do understand that sometimes the time that has been set is not realistic to the scope that has been set for the project. But the early communication of that is important in project management. You just don't say, no, this project is actually going to take longer than 6 months, so we are going to take longer than 6 months. The documents that you build, you have to submit the change request to your client, that you had anticipated the project to take 6 months, but we are asking for 2 months based on X and Y reasons. You just don't increase the time of a project because it's what you feel like doing.
Okay. I mean, but again, just to also delve a bit further on what you've just said now, in terms of, because you just spoke about, you know, asking for 2 extra months whatsoever, but if we have to look at it, what is often the root cause of these problems, like in terms of delay? I know there are quite a number of factors around managing projects, but where is the problem usually? Does it come down to planning, coordination?
Yeah, like you said. Yeah, like you said. There are various factors. In reality, no 2 projects are the same. They can have the same characteristics, but generally you won't manage them in the same manner. Something is always going to change one from the other. Now, you also need to understand that certain projects also operate in different political landscape, economic landscape, and just the environment. So projects failing could be to a different factors. I mean, now bringing it back to home, for instance, the issue of the oil. We a project could have started 2 months ago, but there was an anticipation that the war will happen. You know, that is something that's not within the project manager's control or the project itself. Now, if you require certain material from X country and let's say that country is facing issues of oil shortage, like, you know, to fuel up the ship, for instance, that has an impact on the delivery of the project on this side, because now you're waiting for the material, and in order to get that material, there is a cost that is implied to it, because you are now going to pay higher than what you've initially anticipated. So sometimes those are things that can play a role, and those are not costs that could have been foreseen, but they are costs that impact, again, the bottom line of expenditure, because then now the project turns out to be more expensive than what was initially budgeted for. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but now going back to you now, just based on the fact that you've worked on a number of projects, what was a challenge for you? Was it the technical complexities that come with the project, or what comes down to that? Because I know you guys pretty much have pressure in terms of deadlines.
I would say technical. You know, when I look at myself, I often wonder, like, how did I get here, and how am I doing what I'm doing? Because you would understand it like, as a project manager, you're just supposed to manage, you know, time, cost, budget. It's very, you know, that like time, cost, budget. It seems like it's all you do.
Yes.
But you'd find yourself where, well, let me bring it to myself. I find myself sometimes having to deal with finance. I didn't do that well in accounting at school, but here I am. You are managing high budget projects, high impact projects. You'd find yourself in procurement. I didn't study procurement, but I'm learning on the job. You have to find yourself doing contract management. I am no lawyer by profession, but you are learning the technical complexities of managing the entire life cycle of the project. And because you are in the position of, I can't necessarily say that you're in the position of authority, but the skill aspect that is required, you sort of have to touch on every area of the project. Just because you're the project manager doesn't mean that you are excluded from different technicalities of the project. You need to be abreast with the entire project and what is happening. So the technicalities is really challenging in certain times, because I'll have to consult my dear University of YouTube just to see how how to do something, how to understand it, or you have to do a little bit of research. It's sort of continuous learning on the job, and unfortunately, you are expected to know some of these things. When the question comes, you need to be ready to answer it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just curious to know. I mean, again, given the fact that so much weight and weighs on the shoulder, and in terms of authority, how do you deal with personalities? Because I know even at times in workplaces, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. But in your profession, how do you deal with that?
Emotional intelligence is a key component. I would say it's a key quality in effective project management. Understanding that you are also managing projects from different sectors, different economic landscapes, different cultural landscapes, and different in environments as well. Okay. So you need to know that you are dealing with people. Just because you are the project manager does not give you the authority over everyone. You need to balance the emotional aspects of dealing with people, and you need to you are the leader in the position, and you need to know how to manage people as they fluctuate. Yeah, it's tricky, yes, but it's just something you have to learn as you go along, and you are not in a position to be a yes man or to find to be likable. Sometimes the quality and the value of the project, because you have a single purpose, yes, and that's what you always need to dial back, as you are dealing with people. Yeah.
So it does not bring out your crazy side.
Yeah, no.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. I mean, just before we continue, we will have to go for a quick ad break, and after this, we'll just delve more into your sector as well as your profession. Yes, and to our viewers, do stay glued to the screen, and we will see you right after the break. Yes, and to our viewers, welcome back. We are still here with Lineekela Hamutumwa, who is a project manager at Monasa Advisory Associates. Lineekela, I mean, you've touched quite on a few insightful topics, throughout the conversation. But I just want to know, especially now, if you look at some of our sectors, we look at oil and gas. We look at the likes of hydrogen as well. We look at construction. Do you think we have capacity in terms of localized and homegrown project managers in our country that can also deliver efficiently? Because if you look around, again, speaking under correction, you mostly find foreign-based project managers managing these mega projects. Where does that problem actually lie?
That's a very good question, and I mean it's relatable to the current climate that we are in. Now, I would say yes and no. We have the project managers, and the country itself is doing enough or more than enough to ensure that we have the technical capacity and the skill set to manage your high impact projects, such as your oil and gas and your green hydrogen. Maybe the area that we do lack is the amount of years experience, like, that the foreign experts have, right? But that's where institutional arrangements come into play. I know, like for instance, in the oil and gas sector, they are really pushing the aspect of local content, and that is to also capacitate our local professions to be able to be the ones managing our oil and gas projects, our green hydrogen projects. Now, we are not trying to go back 20 years, yes, where you would find foreigners coming into the country and they are working on a singular project for 10 years without the skills transfer. So skills transfer is a big component where managing this projects come into play. But just to get back to answering your questions, we do have the capacities. The entities such as Petrofund is doing more than enough to ensure that the local people or local people that are interested in the oil and gas and the hydrogens are capacitated, to get the education. Now it's just to ensure that they are given positions to manage this project and to learn as they go. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, again, just to touch on what you've said earlier. I mean, you've mentioned the part where you guys basically touch on basically almost everything. The legal side, procurement, finance, cost, whatsoever. And especially now that these sectors are coming up and they're booming quite fast, is it perhaps specialized project managers that look today? I, Lineekela, I'm only managing projects that have to do with hydrogen, and then me, Philip, on my end, only doing projects that have to do with oil and gas. Where are we with that? Is there any specialization in your field in regards to that?
In project management? Yes, there is.
Okay.
You can be a specialized project manager in oil and gas simply, or in hydrogen. Now, you do find people sort of do it in the, I'll say track back, like an engineer becomes a project manager of a green hydrogen project because they've studied the engineering in their undergrad, right? So that is their skill set. And then project management is just an added advantage to the skill set. So they remain an engineer nonetheless. Okay. Now, you do find where you can just study project management from undergrad and then specialize as you go along. Yeah.
But interesting point as well. And I would like to know, don't the two professions collide? I mean, you have a project manager who basically just, I would say, not generalize, but sort of like, I don't also want to use the term basic knowledge, compared to an engineer who basically knows the sector in and out, whereas you come in and you have to catch up. What happens there? I mean, I'm trying to understand. I mean,
yeah, no, when you're basing it on industries such as oil and gas and green hydrogen, those are technical fields, right? And they require technical expertise.
Okay.
The methodologies of project management can be used, they cut across every field, right? Or every industry. But you also need to be very, very careful to not be, say, just because you're a project manager, you can manage every single set of project that comes in there. Some do need the technical capabilities of an engineer. And if you don't have the engineering expertise, it goes back to the initial question that you asked, why do projects fail? Sometimes the technical capacity that is also required on a project is key because they know how and they understand the environment that they're working in and the resources that are required for the project. But whereas you are catching up in the area of managing the project comes then where it's a skills transfer. So you don't take on the role of that's where you find project coordinators or project administrators. You are learning, you're still managing the project as you go. But for a project manager in a technical component, sometimes you need the technical expertise. I cannot confidently sit here and say that I can manage the construction of a road tomorrow, but I can learn how to manage the construction of a road.
Okay. I mean, also again, just speaking of learning, I mean, just recently you stood in front of a number of students. You've also written a piece. But just tell us how the turn-up was. Are we seeing a lot more people jumping into that field of study?
I wouldn't know if I have to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, but from an undergrad or students that are starting, they're just going into university. I'm not sure what the numbers look like for those that are particularly taking on project management as a singular field. I particularly didn't do that. I studied industrial psychology and political science.
Oh, really?
So you can see the shift,
Okay.
right? And those are still things that I studied from undergrad are still assisting me now in my project management career, right? Now, where Namibia has the PMI chapter, so basically affiliated to the Project Management Institute. I think just last month they recorded that Namibia has 200 certified project management professionals.
Okay.
So that is big. You are seeing more industry or career professionals being certified project managers, and I feel like as more become certified, they need to trickle down to your undergrads or people that are just entering their career to take up project management as a soft skill. I could put it that way. But yeah, it is a growing field. I think the first the certification started in like 1989,
Okay.
and Namibia is still just catching up. 10 years ago, we didn't have as many project managers or certified as we do now.
Okay.
So it is growing. Yeah.
Okay. But just in terms of intensity, again, I know this might seem like a repetition of one of the questions I've asked, but just to compare the two sectors, you have the public and the private. Is they quite different in terms of how things are done?
Yeah. Governance is different from institution to institution. So how things are done, it's definitely there. I know for certain institutions, in certain roles that they have within their institution, having a project management certificate is like you need to have that in order to enter, like to work in that particular institution. I'm not sure if public sector is that strict on project management qualifications, but I do know now that they are project management methodologies that are being implemented within government projects and how they are rolled out. So probably in the near future, we could see more certified project managers within public space.
Okay. You've been in the game for quite some time now, and obviously you've seen some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses, and again, going back to all the different sectors, even the ones that are being established as we speak, what are some of the things we as a nation you believe we should work on in terms of just being fully efficient?
Accountability being one of them. The aspect of project management is that you need to have accountability measures as the project is being rolled out, right? The project can just not start and then it ends, but there hasn't been continuous feedback loops in order to know how the project is performing. Are there any high risks, and how should they be mitigated? So in the sense of accountability, and I guess also purpose, like one aspect of project management is to have like a steering committee within a project. That's sort of like, your reporting back committee. They are the ones that make the important decisions. They are the ones that sign off. Okay. So I guess when you find yourself, if anyone finds themselves in that committee, to know that the role they play in the execution of that project. So for me, definitely the accountability and monitoring and evaluation components within how projects are rolled out, both in public and in private sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that was quite insightful information. I mean, a lot. I've picked up quite a lot, and even things I didn't know about. But yeah, again, that brings us to the end of our episode today. But nonetheless, Lineekela, thank you for making the time, for showing up, and just giving our viewers some insight as to how the world of project management really works. Yes, and to our viewers, thank you for watching. That was Lineekela Hamutumwa with us today, talking all things project management. And that brings us to the end of tonight's edition with me, your host, Philip Joseph, and the rest of the team. Good night.